Well, we are getting closer to the presidential election, but our chief elections officials, they want to make changes to state law that could impact how you vote in future elections.
Secretary of State Frank LaRose has proposed eliminating those drop boxes. There is already only one in each county. So our Columbus Bureau reporter Morgan Trow explains why he wants to do this and how it could impact voters.
Nearly 4 million Ohioans voted last November, with 1 in 4 people voting absentee.
Working people work, okay, and they go home. They go home and they vote a ballot and they drive it to the Board of Elections, knowing that the law already says it has to be in a secure location. That has to be monitored.
But state senator and voting rights advocate Bill Demora worries that a new proposal from Secretary of State Frank LaRose will make that much more difficult to do. LaRose sent a letter to Statehouse leaders asking them to create a law to eliminate the use of drop boxes entirely.
It's ridiculous, and it all does is hurt working people and working families and college students, to make it tougher for people to vote, to make it tougher for people to take their own spouse's ballot to the one box in the county that they're allowed to have to drop off their ballots. Anything they can do to make it tougher to vote.
In his letter, LaRose explains his worry about ballot harvesting, someone collecting a bunch of other people's ballots and submitting them. Right now, there's a defined list of who can submit absentee ballots other than yourself, which includes a spouse, parent, or child. Elections law expert Atiba Ellis explains that this letter stems from a case LaRose lost in federal court earlier this summer.
These proposals have come in the wake of the recent lawsuit that has required the state of Ohio to offer more opportunities for persons with disabilities to get assistance when voting.
To be clear, there is no evidence of widespread voter fraud. The Republican leaders across the country have cast doubt on mail-in or drop-boxed ballots.
The desire to eliminate drop boxes and to, in effect, narrow the ways that one can vote to what almost seems like simply in person on election day is driven by the belief that the other methods are somehow automatically fraudulent.
But not all Republicans agree. When asked, Governor Mike DeWine rebuffed LaRose's ideas.
Look, I have said consistently that I think we do a very good job in Ohio running elections. And I think anyone who wants to change what we do has a burden of proof of showing that there's a problem with what we do now.
We reached out to LaRose and both legislative leaders. Both House Speaker Jason Stevens and Senate President Matt Huffman said that they would consider it. At the Ohio Statehouse, I'm Morgan Trow reporting.
Now, back in July, a federal judge blocked part of a controversial voting law in Ohio from being enforced. 2 years ago, state lawmakers passed legislation which made a number of changes to voting rights in the state. It said that the only people who can deliver a sealed absentee ballot besides yourself are members of the Postal Service or close relatives, like a spouse, parent, child, or sibling. No caregivers, grandchildren, friends, or neighbors. A judge struck down that provision.
And we wanted to know how much absentee ballot drop boxes are used in Ohio and about their security. So as of right now, Ohio only permits one drop box location per county at that county's Board of Elections. According to data from our Secretary of State, Frank LaRose's office, about 3,400 people returned absentee ballots via a drop box during the March primaries. More than 1.7 million people voted in that election.